Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky D as always. Marky Davison, how you going, mate?
Mate, I'm doing pretty good. I just, sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I can't believe we're still doing this, We're still allowed to be on the air. We're still allowed to be around the airwaves. Your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. See, I can say it now because it took me 2 years to get it down pat. But, I wake up and go, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fun. You know what I mean? Like 2 and 5 Steelers, but it's good to wear the jersey or the shirt or whatever and talking football. And I don't know. I think I'm in a bit of it's near. I like our show because you go through all the bumps and bruises, and then you start to get back, you get hyped up again. Yeah, you get over it. You get so hyped up, and you're like, we can do this. We can beat the Eagles. Why not? Why can't we beat the Eagles?
Yeah,
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, awesome. Good to hear. Good to hear. And so we'll kick off with the injury report as we have done as of late. On the Steelers side, KZ and Watt both practice, but they're not on the injury report, which means the Steelers actually have to officially activate them. That can still happen. It just has to happen by 4 p.m. on Saturday. So we'll see what
I got a quick question
there.
for you. Who would if they could be activated, who gets deactivated? Who comes off the roster, do you think?
Well, let's look at the other guys as well, because there's a few more things that I don't see Watt in this game, and KZ will maybe, because Levi Wallace has been ruled out. Logan Joby, Larry Ogunjobi has also been ruled out, which is I think a massive loss to the Steelers. I think that's bigger than Levi Wallace. Boswell's questionable. Josh Jackson's questionable. If Josh Jackson was out, maybe they go KZ, but it depends on how much the defensive scheme or what they've been doing lately has changed or not since he's been out, and how obviously he's been in with the team, but actually doing that and performing those different roles is a whole different thing altogether. Boswell obviously would be a massive loss. This is the sort of game where any points we can get, we need the guaranteed points. So hopefully there's nothing there. And the guy that they used to call up for this stuff, Matthew Wright, he's off kicking field goals at KC. So we don't even have the guy that we've called upon.
So what would happen there? We have no kicker. Is there no kicker on the practice squad?
I don't know. I haven't seen. I mean, you know what? This is the one season where I've not really been keeping up with the Steelers practice squad, but I don't remember last time I checked seeing one there. I can pull it up, but yeah, I just think why I do that. Let's talk about Ogunjobi though. I mean
yeah, man,
he's done a lot the last few weeks.
I like him. I like him there. In the defense, I think I was talking to you off air just then. Like we normally do, a 2-minute catch up or whatever. I just like him as a Steeler. I know he's been a Brown and a Raven before, or Bengal. He's almost played for all the AFC North. Like the one team I can't remember who hasn't played for might be a Raven or something. But anyways, I like him.
Yeah, he hasn't been a Raven. Also, there's no kicker. No kicker on the practice squad.
There's no kicker. Okay. So Boswell's questionable.
Get in, Dicker the kicker from Texas. Mate, he was in the draft. Dicker the kicker. It's hilarious.
Dicker. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I think I am.
That's his name. Bickerer. Dicker the kicker. Bring him in. Then we can have. He can be the holy trinity of names like that in Steelers, which is Buzz Nutter, Dick Shiner, and Dicker the kicker.
Oh, you forgot my favorite, the old Christian Kuntz. And I'm allowed to say that one too, because that's a player. And I've got his jersey, so I'm quite happy. It's just a good feel. It gets a good feel. Feel good Saturday. But no, going back to Ogunjobi, hopefully that Chris Boswell can play, to be honest. Now, I don't know what their plan is without them. I don't know if they play, if someone goes out there and, I don't know, who would even try field goals, or you just go for 4th down. At this point, you might as well just try and go for it on 4th down every time. But Ogunjobi...
Dicker the Kicker's, news alert, Dicker the Kicker's actually on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is he really?
I think so.
Oh, no. Can we do a mid-game trade? Can he do an Antonio Brown, take off his jersey and run over the other side?
On there. He must be on their practice squad. I'm gonna go find this out while you talk about Ogunjobi.
So there's no Dicker.
That's right. I thought Jake Elliott was the kicker for the. Maybe he's on the practice squad. I can't live with spending time to know. Yeah, Cameron Dicker the kicker on the practice squad.
That's unfortunate.
Sucks. That sucks.
That'd be probably another jersey I'd probably get, just because I'm so childish. You know, it's just like, and then you just walk around in pubs and clubs, and you're like, you can't wear that suit. You're like, actually, I can. It's a player. It's a real player.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, sorry for that. I don't know why we've invested so much time in Dick the Kicker, but anyway.
Well, back to Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
Ogunjobi. No, I like him, man. When you're telling me off air too, like he's got the 1 year deal, and you're saying how that you wanted him to see.
Yeah, I
to get
said back in the
2 year
off
deal, right?
season, like when we brought him in, I was like, get him on a 2-year deal where it's front loaded, so it's not an issue for the team down the track. Because if he performs, he's just going to cost you more money. I guess the only good thing for the Steelers right now with Ogunjobi in that capacity, apart from his play on the field, is that he has suffered some injuries. So teams are probably going to have question marks, and I think he's 29 turning 30 into next season. So, I mean, that's at least the one saving grace with Ogunjobi, but I still sit there and like they should have done the 2-year deal for him.
Right. Does that mean that I guess Chris Wormley's going to step up then in his place? Or do we see someone else, Loudermilk in there?
Loudermilk, yeah. Well, I mean, where they're at, and you look at the big bodies of Philadelphia, probably I don't know. I'd probably go Loudermilk, particularly with the running game.
Yeah, he's playing pretty well too.
To go Loudermilk,
and like he's only got I think he got the start last week, or he hadn't played the first 5 games or whatever. But I kind of like Loudermilk too. I don't think the D line's our biggest problem. Like they do get carved up a little bit in the run. They do get a bit of loss in the middle of the field. They get targeted a lot. But that could be a range of things. But you never know with this defense. They go and beat the Bucks, and they lose really bad to the Dolphins. But then the defense holds them in check the whole game. Sorry, the second half, and they have a chance for 4 interceptions. So it's kind of like all over the shop. Like to me, my biggest problem, I know we're going to talk about it today, is the offense. It doesn't feel like anything to me. Feels like a bit of a lost cause. No matter how many skillful players we have, it does feel like a lost cause to me. But we still had a chance to win somehow, some way.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. I mean, like Captain Underpants asked about TJ. Yeah, you must have missed that bit where we talked about that. But what we said was potentially, but it's probably more likely KZ comes back as a first. I worry about TJ. I don't want them to rush him back because he's too valuable a player for this franchise. If give him another week. Like
TJ will be ready. He'll say he's ready, right? But it depends on what the coaches will do. They could, if he's ready.
I just think you leave him out. I think you leave him out.
Give him this week off, the bye, and then come back for the next 10 games, or 9 games, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, exactly. Don't rush that. That's not something we want to rush.
That would be 2 weeks if he's ready to go now, or if he's 80%. Then that's 2 more weeks to be 100%, pretty much. Take time off and then get ready for 2 back-to-back home games where you should be not favorite to win, but a chance to win. And with TJ there, dead set, that's probably a better idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I know what everyone's saying. Like, I trust TJ at like 60%, but the way that he wants to play, if he's not ready, that's going to be a problem. I mean, you go out there and you those.
Well, what if he went down as well? It'd be very frustrating to see him go down again, right? If he's out there playing and he went down, then he's out.
I reckon if he goes in, I reckon he's a 50-50 at going down again. That's sort of a muscle injury. He's already at on an accelerated timeline. He's probably still going to have off-season surgery on it. The Steelers going to win the Super Bowl this year. Come on, 1% chance, right?
If they win this game and go on a run,
he needs to be able to play some playoff games, right? So that's
if the team can rally, if there's a big upset, right, and they beat the Eagles, say it's a big upset, then you've got a real chance on the back half after a bye.
Correct.
And get everything back together. Fix the offense, fix a lot of these things. Because there are some games I think we're just beating ourselves. Dead set. We couldn't finish the game versus the Pats and the drive killer with the Kenny Pickett against the Jets. There are some games this year that in other games where we had Big Ben, we would go out there and win by 3 points. We would buy a touchdown. Even last week against the Dolphins, Kenny Pickett almost had that TD. If Kenny Pickett had that TD to the end zone, he would have been called a hero. But he stuffed up.
He's still the guy. He's still I know, but DJ never runs back for that ball. And
he never does. No, he doesn't.
Shot it. But,
he doesn't.
We talked about last week. Dave Schofield brought it up a few weeks back, said what some of us were thinking. these wide receivers, apart from Pickens, do not help him.
Nope.
Do not help Pickett out whatsoever. Like, there's all this, like, Ben, when we talk about Ben and AB, his brain, like, I swear sometimes with AB, he had eyes in the back of his head with the ball because he would come back, he would cut in at the right time, his feet, maybe the eyes weren't sitting in the back of his, like, Achilles heel or something because his feet seemed to move himself, and then he turned and then the ball would be there, right? Obviously, if you're listening on the audio side, what I just did visually doesn't make sense, but, like, you don't see that from anyone on the Steelers in the wide
receivers.
You
don't. Maybe Pickens to a certain degree.
No, I said maybe Pickens, but
he's learning, right?
Yeah, and he's also a guy that's there to stretch the field. He's kind of got to go sometimes and then think about it. But, like, you see it from him when he's taking those sort of short little, like, the slants to but the outside, the route outside. But, like, everyone else, they talked about, like, the Eagles trading for Kamara. If I'm the Steelers, I would have traded for Kamara at this point just because you need someone that can do that short passing. I just, and I actually don't. I wouldn't have done that anyway because I don't have the offensive line to make him work. But you're right in terms of this offense in that they're close in some ways because of the players on the field, but I think they're so far away from it with Canada. And this is why they should have started Kenny Pickett week 1, to be honest.
So we can, progress through the season. But I've actually seen, routes that Claypool runs, right? Not the ones he falls over, but routes where he's not even a part of the play, and he still checks out. Like he's not even running
He did that with Ben. And
it doesn't run an NFL route. He actually jogs through it like it's practice. There's nothing like what we saw with AB. That was like I still think he's one of the top receivers we've ever had, even though he went a bit crazy. Same with Hines Ward. They came back to the football. They sat in zones. They would go one-on-one with a cornerback and beat them all the time. Body position. We talk about all these things to be an NFL receiver, and Claypool wanted to be top 3. He's nowhere near top 3. He doesn't do any of those things. All he does is have a chance to catch the ball, and he can't do that. Now, DJ as well, we might have seen his ceiling too. DJ, he doesn't come back to the ball. He does that move all the time, which doesn't really work.
I don't understand too? There's no ownership. There's no ownership from anyone but Pickens. And I say this because really, if they don't get any balls, they all complain. Mm-hmm. If they don't drop the ball, it's Canada, or it's a bad route, it's sort of this, or it's that, or it's whatever. None of them, and it's not just what they say, like, because, sometimes they will deliver these, like, standard, messaging, we call it in my industry, when they're in the interviews. But, like, it's how they play. Like, they don't act like they want the ball. Like, I don't want to hear DJ, I need to get more ball, I need to do this, I need to do that. Because when you do get it, you drop it half the time or a third of the time, whatever the actual stat is. Or you don't come back to it. You don't look to make that play. Kenny throws people. That pass that he threw down the stretch to Freemuth in that tight window that wasn't open. Like, Freemuth had to outstretch the ball. He threw him open, right? And that's where you talk about actual NFL throw power, not distance you can throw at 40, 50 yards. Can you put it in the tight spot? Remember in the preseason, there was that, apparently Kenny had amazed the Steelers with the revolutions and spin that he put on the ball. And they didn't expect to see that from him at that stage. Well, you saw that with Freemuth. Kenny can do it, but he needs some damn help. Like, how many games is like Deontay played? 50? How many games has Pickett played? Like 3?
Yeah, and you're just not getting it. Like, I just don't. You are right with the ownership. They don't. To me, and we talked about it before with Claypool. I don't think he is a receiver. It doesn't feel like he wants to be a receiver. Because you look at guys, and
he's a flex tight end.
We even talked about off air just before this. And we're talking about Debo from San Fran and those kind of guys, right? The actual real receivers. We talked about who's the guy you like out in Charger land.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, guys.
Keenan Allen could have been a receiver in any time in the last 20 or 30 years and been a really good receiver. Like, that guy catches everything, short stuff, long stuff, intermediate passing, gets the check, like, moves the offense. Like, when Rivers had nothing there, he kept that going. Like, I mean, you know what? They're not going to bring back Juju next year. Bring him in. Bring Keenan Allen in. But he needs a championship. He's a good. I like Keenan Allen. I'm a big fan of him.
Is that to a point that maybe Claypool and DJ are just guys that won't be here on the roster next few years, and they're just, I don't know. But it seems like they have checked out. It really does.
Well,
And
the thing about DJ is it's like we paid him, and I'm just glad we didn't pay him what. Remember, I know I know I'm saying it literally every week, but it just keeps coming up. But like I said, remember how many times I said he's not a 20+ million a year wide receiver. He's just not. And they've got to figure it out. But I mean, at this stage, I remember looking at his cap number. Like, I don't think DJ is good enough. He's just not going to ever be a number one. Imagine if DJ was your number 3. You'd be feeling really good if DJ was your number 3. Number 2, feeling probably all right. Or even if he's like a 2A or whatever, and he gives you something different. But Kenny just needs more. And I don't know. And then you think about Najee. I think Jalen Warren is doing everything he possibly can. And I know the stat sheet doesn't tell everything because he's a great pass blocker. But it's not like Jalen Warren's broken a 40-yard run. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all loving him because we're so... Like, I feel like as Steelers fans, we've been so bashed into this 2 yards a carry thing that when we see someone that hits the line with a bit of gusto... And don't get me wrong, he had that awesome first down that he got when they plugged it through on 4 and 2. But you just kind of am like, how can they not put it together? And it goes back to what you and I have said for a couple of years now. You watch other teams play offense, and it's fluid.
It's exciting.
And almost like a bit like I don't want to say like a Madden game, but like it's easy and it works. And they can be a team that's like 1-15, right? And yeah, they're losing a game, but they might be like the Lions last year where they lost, 6 or 7 games, whatever it was, by less than a score or less than a touchdown. But with us, it's like it's a mess. And you're not going to win a Super Bowl in this era of doing that. It's not the era to do that. You have to be able to score 30 points at least every second game. And we are so far away from that. It is like 10 points last week.
Yeah, well, the Steelers are averaging, I think 14 points per game, and they haven't scored 20 points on offense yet. So, and Chris Boswell's our guy, right? So there's a lot of pressure on this offense because the offense is statistically pretty bad. It's 32s, 30s, 31s, 29s. It's all kinds of bad. But then you look at the skillful players, but nothing's really clicking. I don't think that the players are really checking in because the old days like Hines, Ward, or Brown were there. It was fantastic and fun to watch, and you knew you had an explosive offense. Yeah. And we haven't got that. So, and our defense is doing the best they can. So every time I go into these matchups, like versus Eagles 2 and 5, yes, they can win, right? Any given Sunday, they can win. However, if you're going to play it's the same way you played last week, score 10 points or whatnot, and you can't get in 7 tries, you can't get in the field for a field goal, then you will lose this game. You'll lose the game against the Eagles because Jalen Hurts will start to rip it up. They definitely will. They're going to run the ball. They'll do RPOs. He runs the football too. He can score touchdowns. So in that sense, it is pretty hard to watch this. And I've heard reports now that they're giving Matt Canada one more chance. I don't think he deserves one more chance. I've used it.
What's one more chance? One more chance better not be another year. Oh my God. And people say about moving Deontay, like it's gonna cost you like $20 million in dead money over the next 2 years. Like you're not moving. They're not moving that. Not when you can relegate him as a number 2 or 3 wide receiver.
And what do we have? We have DJ for
1.
Is he a free agent next year?
No. We got him for 2. He did a 2+1, so he's here till 2024. Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to, unless they're going to get a 1 for it, they're not trading DJ.
The only way I really see if this offense starts to click is if they got to really open the playbook up. And I'm talking about.
But Matt Canada was kidding when he said that. Did you see that this week?
Yeah.
Did you like my tweet when he was like, this offense has a chance to be really good. It's just like a dam. We just need the wall to break. I'm like, no. No. And you know what? Prove me wrong, Matt Canada. But no, mate, you're delusional.
Is he saying that because he knows
is the green stuff legal in Pennsylvania? Because man, he's on it. Like
he's on something. But I feel like he's saying it because he knows he's bad. Like there needs to be a self-reflection. If you're walking around the locker room thinking, You must be thinking it's my fault. If you're Matt Canada, you have to be thinking it's my fault.
I don't
right?
think he is. How can you say something like that? I think it's oblivious. I think he doesn't think it's his. It's like Boswell telling him, it wasn't because of you.
And that must be true. That must be true now then too.
Oh, come on. It's got to be, man.
It has to be true now because of all the stuff. But so if in my eyes, he's got 7 days to look at like ESPN at least once. He could easily find himself on the stats and go, actually, we are 32. So I don't really know with this guy. I kind of want to see him go, but you're right. If they go and scrap him, then what do you have there? Offensively core, how do you start again? What plays do you design to get involved?
You know what? Sometimes these sorts of things, and you and I have seen this in a lot of the Australian sports as well. Sometimes you just got to simplify stuff.
Yeah.
Like all this pre-shift and motion.
Oh,
if it works, it's good. But we don't have the players to do it. We don't have the line to do it. Like, just simplify it a little bit, especially for a rookie quarterback. Don't make it too hard. Plus, is it besides, it's not that complex anyway with Matt Canada. It's like motion, sweep, run for 2 yards, and then maybe try and throw downfield to Pickens. He's blocked. Kenny's got to throw it to someone else who's covered because Matt Canada hasn't schemed anyone open. I mean, I'm sorry. It's banal.
Yeah. Well, they don't even really use the players that are in motion. I've watched it a few times. Like you watch it, they don't really. They just go in motion to go in motion. They honestly don't use them to set anything up, to set up picks, to set up different plays. And that one pass to Gentry, the shovel pass, why are you giving a ball to Gentry when he's flat-footed from the start? That cannot make any sense. You and I would know not to do that if we were offensive coordinator. You don't give a big guy a shovel pass unless he's near the goal line. It was like second.
Well, why would you give a guy who's 6'7" a shovel pass?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You know how low he's got to get, which is at the same height almost as like what a 5'9" to 11 cornerback, needs. Like it doesn't make any sense.
What about the double reverse? What are your thoughts on the double reverse? Doesn't work. It just doesn't. Not the way we do stuff.
To do a double reverse, you need a really good O-line, and you also need an offense. To me, I don't think it works in his offense. Like it also works in college when people don't let the defensive schematics are nowhere near what they are in the NFL. But it doesn't work. I just don't think it works for a team that doesn't throw shotgun enough, and I don't think, like it works for me in my mind in like the Cardinals, right, with Murray, where he's going so far back all the time, right? That the team's used to that, and the defensive teams are expecting him to go that far back. But then with that sweep, when there's 2 guys going across, it's like crap. There's 3 guys, but has Murray still run away with the ball? Like you can almost do a fake reverse sweep if you wanted to keep you questioning. I don't know how they think on the Steelers it's going to work. And it only works as well when you've got a run game when that they're worried about you doing a play. I think it works when people think instead you're doing play action. I don't know. You just know. They're not that team, man. Like it doesn't. Put it this way, logically, right? And it's kind of weird in the NFL anyway because you go backwards to go forwards. But it's like a lot of sports really, and as well with the rugby sports. But like to get a first down, you've got to go forward. And a lot of what Matt Canada do is hanging around in the backfield.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't philosophically make sense half the time. But the passing last year with Ben, where that was also on the O-line and couldn't keep him upright. But like, unless he threw it super quick. But some of these short passing in the backfield to Najee last year. No wonder Najee screwed up this year, man. Like what we did to him in his rookie year last year was criminal.
Well, Matt Canada did say a few weeks ago or something on his press conference, he tries to, get a few yards at a time. He's happy with getting 1, 2 and setting up for a 3rd down and 2. So that's what's frustrating.
Eric Askew in the live chat. I think they focus too much on Newton's first law of physics. An object in motion will stay in motion at constant velocity. Look, and Alfred brings up the fact that, they did hit a promising play on an RPO. I've not seen enough from Matt Canada full stop to think he's promising. In 2 years is nothing. Not with the hype.
How many times do you think we've said this fella's name? I kind of don't want to say his name anymore. How many times? I've got all the podcasts I do and stuff like that.
I'm still waiting for the Matt Canada offense. Have we seen the Matt Canada offense?
No, we always talked about the system. It's a broken system. I've called it bipolar.
But I understand how it works in college. I just think the NFL is just so much faster. The people are so much smarter. The defensive schemes are so much more sophisticated. And honestly, the Steelers, I just don't think, apart from Muth and Pickens, have the offense that makes you guess and wonder in general around the defensive scheme that you're putting up against the Steelers. Therefore, why are you going to worry about some of these motions and sweeps? And they never get going. There's never any oomph to it.
I got a question for you. Why haven't they brought up not Benny Snell, McFarlane yet to change around the offense a bit? Why have they not involved him in the game?
Because I don't think the way the O-line is blocking, but I also and more so don't think that Canada knows how to work with a running back like McFarlane.
So if he doesn't know how to work with a running back like
because McFarlane's going to need you to hold those gaps in the middle and then hit a hole, right? And there's all this other crap going on with these motions. It just doesn't. You've got to rely on the interior line, every single man in that interior line holding his bloke, or you've got to rely, with McFarlane, if you see what he did really well at Maryland with some of the big games that he had, he went down the outside. And I don't think that they can, the lineman can wrap around and move like that. And you brought McFarlane in when you had Pouncey that could do that. And I just don't think they're set up for that.
But Devil says here, Danny Smith doesn't want McFarlane on special teams, but I thought he did quite well in the kick return game, right? Well, why can't you use him as a kick returner rather than Oshesky? I just think they're not using a lot of players. Like we have not seen Oshesky at all really play on the offense,
but he had an average. Was it the last game of the preseason? It was the second or the third game of the preseason.
No, I get it, right? It's not. I'm not really saying on the actual skill though. I'm saying you got these players. They're not really doing.
Yeah, They're not using.
You have Miles Boykin. They're not using him. You have Steven.
Well, that's a good example, right? Boykin in the theoretically, and what Matt Canada wants to do is a big wide receiver who can go into the slot, who can move around, who is quick, should raise some level of question on the defense, but on the opposing defense. But he never makes it in. I really rate Boykin. I reckon Boykin.
So do I. I rate him too.
And the way Claypool's playing, I know he had that good game a couple of weeks back, and people talk about trading him, and I don't think you're going to get what you want from him. My thing is, if you're going to trade Claypool, save it for draft day when someone misses out on the wide receiver prospect that they want. Right, particularly because some of the wide receivers that were touted in the draft, in college this year, going into the draft, aren't actually doing that well, and there's guys that are injured. But if you did trade him, I don't think you're going to have a 50% drop off with Boykin.
But
I don't think
you're going
to even have a 30% drop off.
This is what I'm saying, right? This is what I'm saying. So we have a lot of players who play teams, and they don't play the offense. However, the offensive players, Derek Watt, Benny Snell, Miles Boykin, right? All these guys, Oshesky, Steven Sims.
Yep.
And we wonder why things aren't being creative on the offense. They're not implementing it into the game. Other teams do that. Other teams have so many players. Like the Chiefs now have all these guys. Of course, they're really special guys. But why aren't the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Matt Canada offense, are they just happy doing what they're doing? Obviously they are. But why aren't you implementing strategies or ideas to get Steven Sims the ball, to get Miles Boykin the ball? And you can't just tell me, okay, on the depth chart, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't care if he's fifth. Right now, they're all the same to me, except Pickens. They're all the same. They're all just players. They need to go out there and play. Pickens is the only standout. So to me, why aren't you getting things more involved? We are getting the football to Sims, to Boykin, to these guys, or you are using. I know I'm saying.
The problem with him is exactly, and it just hit me as you were saying that with all those guys. I think the problem with this is that Matt Canada comes fully from college. And I know people are going to go, this person was at this thing and whatever, and, they made it to the NFL. I don't think he knows how to scheme in the NFL properly. I don't think, I don't know how I've had people.
Best comment of the day. They don't do a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weakness. That's probably true, actually.
Correct.
It's probably very true. Great.
You know what? I'm
listening
to this book at the moment by one of the guys that was in America's Delta Force for years, right? This audiobook I'm listening to. And he talked about And he did Bosnia and the Gulf Wars and all the rest of it, right? Basically like being in the Navy SEALs, but the Delta Force. Anyway. And I'm saying that more for the people that aren't Americans. Obviously, most of you know the difference between Delta Force and SEALs and all that. Anyway, he talked about the 3 M's, right? And that was how he made decisions. So it was the mission, the men, so the guys around him, and then me, right? So he didn't make decisions about him first. He didn't make decisions. It was like, how do they achieve their objective? How does it affect the men around me? And then me. Matt Canada, it's me. It's the mission. And then it's the men. And it's like, mate, if you don't use the men right, you're not going to achieve the mission right. But don't, and I was thinking about it this week when I heard it, and I applied it to different facets of my life. And I just thought, it's pretty obvious when you don't think about your objective. His objective, it needs to be to score points and gain yards. And he does nothing that delivers that.
They've scored 10 touchdowns the whole year. And a lot of it's 2 touchdowns to receivers too. That's it. It's pretty bad.
Yep.
So, no, I agree with you 100%. It's really like, how does he walk around the building and say, I'm the offensive coordinator? You should be under the pressure, and they're really
offensive kumquat, mate.
Yeah, something's got to give.
Do you know what? He's an offensive coordinator. An offensive coordinator. It's offensive the way
it's offensive. Yeah, it's horror. It's crazy how far we've fallen. The Steelers have fallen down, and this year's 2-5. And I think I would love to see it, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I don't think we are going to see this game. I think we're going to see the exact same thing. The running, the trick plays.
We'll all be going, oh, they're going to get close, and it's
yeah. The defense will help us out, I think, as well. I think they'll play better, but overall, I think it comes down to the personality of the offense. We just don't have one right now, and
it's not fair on Kenny. People keep talking about the three.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about Kenny being a bust? I've heard that all week.
Not a bust. Come on, man. Kenny's not a bust.
I didn't say it. It was the internet.
If you swap Kenny for Hurts right now, I think Kenny's a better thrower than Hurts. I think Kenny's got some balls. I think Kenny. I really like Kenny. I don't think he's got the infrastructure around him to be successful. And that's why people talk about, if you're doing a coordinator, you do 3 coordinators in 1 year, blah, 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 blah. What's the point in not making a change because you're worried about the impact of that change, but continuing the status quo, even though you know that it's not working? That's the bit that for me is like the question. And as you come back in, Mark, so what I was saying basically was like, what's the point of continuing the status quo where you don't change a coordinator because you're worried about Kenny having too many, but it doesn't work and it's detrimental? Change it.
That's the big question I don't understand, because we always talk about our stuff here in NRL. They would have cut this guy in a heartbeat if he was an NRL coach.
Oh, he would have been sacked. He would have been sacked 2 games ago.
He would have been cut. The interim guy would have came up. There's no issue about you don't want to give Kenny 3 coaches in 2 years. You're going to stuff his development. No. Having Matt Canada, I said his name. Having that guy, I hate saying his name now. Having that guy as your coach will stuff your development. In the NRL, he would have not lasted 4 games. If he was scoring a 1 try a game, he would have been ousted. A guy would have came up, and he would have found a guy in the offseason. That should have happened, and it needs to happen today.
Yeah, I just don't. It needs to be figured out.
Britzberg Owen agrees. In the English soccer, he would have been sacked. So for some reason, I think also the NFL does things a little bit different. Like, they seem to hang on to these, and maybe the Steelers do it too. They hang on to these coaches and players a bit too long before it's too late. Right now, I've heard reports they might get rid of him. But if you're thinking about might, just hammer down the nail now and say see you later. And to me, it would not stuff up Kenny's development. He's a pro player. He'll be fine. He'll figure it out. Imagine if if you're at your job, Matty, right, and your boss is being awful to you, and you had but I had 3 bosses in 3 years. Well, you still know how to do your job, right?
100%. I mean, yes, it's not easy. It's not easy, but you get on with it.
To me, that argument of saying, well, you're going to give him 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. No, but the offensive coordinator right now does not fit what we're doing. It's not working. It's just overall. Look at the stats. Look at the way you play. No one can convince me that that's actually working. And I'll give him time. Give him time. Why would you give him time? There is nothing that this guy can do. And the only way I can get back on the train if he goes out there and scores 35 points a game. That's the only way I can see. Or I'm like, oh, it works. I really don't want to say his name anymore. The system works. So I'm really just done with the guy because it's so awful. As a Steeler fan, waking up at 4 a.m., it is not fun to watch.
It's
scoring
actually
10
not.
points. It is really unenjoyable.
It's
I would rather them be competitive and have some play to go down the field. But these plays just aren't working, and the players aren't buying into it. Kenny Pickett's trying his hardest to go out there. Yes, he shouldn't have thrown that ball to the Dolphin, but it's probably never.
Robert Cotting says, when we invite Matt Canada to the show, he can come on the show. I'd love to chat with him about it. I'd love to have a frank discussion about how ridiculous it is and explain to me the theory behind an offense that goes backwards, never goes forwards. Do you know what? Do you know the other thing? You know the other thing that frustrates me about it? Sorry, now I'm going to animate. They don't even hold the ball that long. It'd be different if the strategy was we hold the ball so long, our defense can be fresh and cause the other team's problems and turnovers, and the defense dropped 3 interceptions last week, right? That'd be different. But they don't even hold the ball that long. Like, what's the point?
No, you're right. I believe I'll check it now. It's time of possession. We are 29 minutes and 25 seconds average.
It's ones per drive. That's the one that I really hammer home on.
What's that one?
That one. The minutes per drive. Here we go.
Right.
238. Slightly.
Oh boy. 238. That's 3 plays.
It's 5.79 plays. It's actually gone up. I'm shocked. But it's gone up since Kenny's been in. When Trubisky was in, that was 218.
Yeah, but even coming out of the Dolphin game, they had a 3 and out, and it always boggles my mind. You had the whole half. You had 35 minutes to eat your oranges, have a halftime prep show, a speech, and they come out and do the same thing. So we are going through some the great one says that we have zero identity on offense. We really do. Besides players like Muth, I think is playing really well, and I think the guys like Pickens too. Now, Do you think we can let's talk about the game a little bit? Do you think we can win this game? Because I want to see them win, but I just don't know.
I'll give you these stats. I'll give you these stats. Even though the Eagles are 6-0, I mean, obviously they're coming up with bye, which helps them. They've scored 20 offensive TDs. Their defense has allowed 14 TDs. They're fourth in offensive scoring. They've got the fourth best defense. Jalen Hurts has 6 TDs to 2 interceptions. So he's only averaging 1 passing TD a game. They've got 13 rush TDs. Hurts has 6 of those 13 rush TDs. So, I mean, in many ways, Hurts is doing things with the legs as well. It's not like they've got the best, passing game in the league. Their expected win-loss ratio was actually 4.4 to 1.6, so somewhere in that 4-win range and almost 2 losses range. And they're 6-0, and they've got a good team. I think the thing that struck me was interesting this week when I was doing War Room and I do my rookie report was there's a lot of guys that everyone hyped up in the draft. They're not even using those guys, mate. They're using most of those guys on special teams. And even Jordan Davis is only playing 30 to 40% of the defensive snaps. So this is a team that's going to get better next year.
Yeah,
this is a team that's got a top 3 pick in the draft next year, that's got 6 picks in next year's draft. Man. And yeah, they're going to have massive needs on the offensive line and part of the defensive line. But it won't surprise me. It's what I said earlier. The Steelers will be in it unless they get blown out early in the first quarter. It'll be toward the end of the third quarter. The Eagles will make a big play, or they'll go 2 scores ahead or a touchdown ahead, and we'll be playing catch up and we'll commit more mistakes, and Matt Canada will flounder, and you know what? It may well be bye-bye during the bye. You know what it might be? It might not be the bye. It might be bye-bye.
I don't know if anyone else can hear that, but Matty just sounded like a robot. That might have been my headphones. I'm not too sure. Am I checking out? My internet going all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's what I find frustrating, though. Like, with that guy who might be fired, right? Just get rid of him today, but they won't do it. But anyways, I think, yeah. Wait a minute, is Jordan Mailata? He's the Australian, right? He's playing, isn't he? Yeah, that'd be cool to see. But he's a good fella too. But you're right, they haven't not using any of their draft picks, and they're still going well. 6-0 is pretty good, And we haven't won in Philadelphia since 1965. It's like everything. Did you know the last time I read this stat too, that the Eagles lost at 6-0 was against Big Ben?
You're right.
Yeah, so it's setting up the exact same way for Kenny Pickett rookie.
Yeah, but Big Ben didn't have Matt Canada.
Domo arigato, Mr. Matty Roboto. Oh, they didn't have that guy. That guy. Oh, yeesh. Yeah. I don't know, dude. I just want to see something completely different, and just to get, because I think we're still a chance. Like they
got a chance, but they need. We're gonna win this game if the defense shows out, and if we had take at least got one of those 3 drops last week on defense for an interception, I'd feel a bit more confident.
Here's a question: what were your thoughts about Mike Tomlin's response on they had to get them in order to win the game? I wasn't a fan of it. I really wasn't. To me, to win the game, you had to go drive and get points, not rely on 4 interceptions. That was one of the worst Mike Tomlin. That was one of the worst Mike Tomlin answers I've ever heard.
So it builds on a narrative that I'm seeing that I allude to sometimes about scoring points and needing to be able to score 30 points to win. And I've seen a narrative do the rounds on social media this week around the Steelers try and play this year 2000s, 1990s football where the defense holds them low. You run the ball, you do small shot passes, you don't try to make no mistakes, and you win that way. And that's not the league, the NFL. That's not the way the NFL operates in 2022 when you've got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Stafford last year, even Kyler Murray when the Cardinals have got the right tools around him, even, Lamar in a way, Joe Burrow. I'm naming half the AFC because that is the reality of good football teams now. And so that comment is probably for me the first real time I've sat there and actually questioned.
Me too.
Is Tomlin past it? And I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying I'm in the fire Tomlin camp. But if you can't recognize what they are doing, nah. And you know what? I know the Roonies. I know Mark Kahn won't want to risk his career on it with the Roonies. But he also won't want to risk his career sitting there supporting a coach that's not playing football in the right, that's not playing football in a way that's going to win games. And so I don't think the other thing we've got to remember is Tomlin has never had a losing season. And so you've got to give him, if he had 3 losing seasons in a row, then I think about firing him. But if he had 1 losing season, next year it's positive, they go out in the playoffs, or, they just miss or whatever it is, fine. I'd still keep him for that 3rd year. I don't think Tomlin's done enough to deserve a bit of leeway. But I'm getting a little bit worried now because this team is so far away in their current philosophy from competing with the best teams in this league.
I agree.
Brian Brown says Matty with a list of people who can kiss it. Yeah.
I reckon that was the most laughable comment I think I've heard from Tomlin in a very long time, because he pretty much shifted all the blame onto the defense, saying we didn't get those turnovers. However, the defense didn't allow 1 point in the second half, which really is amazing to me.
But in fairness to sorry, I'll let you finish.
Well, the thing is what I'm saying is so Mike Tomlin said, okay, you didn't get the turnovers, therefore you didn't win the game, basically, right? In a nutshell. But to me, it was all the pressure, and the elephant in the room right now is that guy who should be fired. And am I gone?
You took yourself off.
Okay, I think
put yourself back on. What's wrong with the camera?
I think Matt Canada's. I don't know. I didn't press anything.
I think you did. You're back.
I didn't touch anything. I mentioned Matt Canada's name for the first time in 20 minutes, and then it went out. Anyways, I do think that the elephant in the room is him. We couldn't win because we couldn't get a drive.
So one thing, but the thing about the way you broke Tomlin's comment down there, right? Think about it from Tomlin's perspective. Tomlin's a defensive coach. Tomlin's a defensive backs coach, right? He has schemed players into position
true,
to take interceptions, right? How did Miami win that game? Because remember, they didn't score any points. Was it in the whole second half, or was it just the one field goal in the second half? But they had a number of interception against Deontay. None, right? Javon Holland had a good interception, right? So they got three interceptions, and they won the 2 or 3 interceptions, and they won the game. The Steelers didn't get 3 interceptions, and they were 1 drive away. So, as I said, from my perspective, I think you can't relying on a defensive interception to win a game. You're going to lose more games than you win. However, so I don't agree with the assessment from Tomlin there. However, I can see why he would be frustrated when you spend all week coming up with a plan, the people in the right position, and they don't do it. Like, that would piss me off too. But then I also sit there and I'm like, well, hang on. I said all off season, and I'm not the the guru, the Dalai Lama of Steelers football. But I said all off season they needed a number 1 cornerback, not 2 number 2s. And I know Levi Wallace and Witherspoon have had injuries, but they clearly don't have a number 1 cornerback, a shutdown cornerback, a number 1 cornerback in that room. And it costs them on plays. It deeply costs them on plays. And if they don't go address that this offseason, particularly if you're going to stick with this crap philosophy, regardless whether Canada's there or not, on the defense winning the game, well, you're going to have to get a few more people that are game changers. And if you get a top 3 pick in the draft, hopefully there's a guy like Ringo and he can, or Eli Ricks or someone like that, that's going to step up and do what Sauce Gardner's doing for the Jets. Because otherwise, you got no chance. You better start finding a way to score 30 points.
What's going to happen this weekend? Let's go. Hey, man, you can still enjoy it, right?
That's it. I'm not saying it's all. Like, I will still watch this team, of course. Like, I'm excited. I want to see Kenny develop. That's what I can't understand.
So
people go like, well, Steelers have a chance, but Kenny's not the guy. I'm like,
it's been 3 games.
What? Yeah.
3 games. Not even. He got injured in the second one. It's been 2.5 games. Like, we need time. You need to enjoy the season. But it's going to be, if we go 2-6, then we'll see what happens. We're just going to fight through it. But
if you actually look at his numbers, like Josh Allen was almost like, I want to see Kenny through 6 to 10 games, but like his numbers aren't that different to Josh Allen's. He's also a really good. He's really
love the old live chat. No, it's to me with the Kenny thing. It's been 2.5 games. It's fine. He's a bust. He's a bust. It's like it's just let it chill. But there's so many more issues in this team than there is just on Kenny or the OC. But yeah, they've got to turn around and can Tomlin turn this around? That would be a mean feat if he can. If he can turn this football team around and go into positive, holy smokes, the Fire Tomlin crowd would be real quiet. If they went on to win to a winning season, it'd be crazy.
Well, that's why I do. Look, I hope they can do something on the weekend to get. If they get that 3rd win, as I said on War Room this week, they're in it. Like they're back in it. Because like I can close out the show, Mark, and you can react to this. I said this on War Room this week. There are 28 teams that have come back from pretty negative records, and 16 of them had records that were feasible with what the Steelers' records right now. So, for instance, they might have been 2-5, they might have been 3-4, they might have been 1-6, and these are all the teams that came back to make the playoffs.
Wait, what year? What year?
Well, I'm going to list all of them from 1970. So the Bengals 1970 were 1-6, the Vikings were 3-5 in 1980. The Steelers were 4-6 in 1989. The Patriots were 3-6 in 94. They made the playoffs in 1995. All these teams made the playoffs. So after a bad record to start, the Lions made it in 1995, 3-6. The Chargers made it in 1995, 4-7. The Jags made it 96, 4-7. The Jets made it 2-5 in 2002. The Chargers made it 2-8 in 2008. 2009.
Wait, 2-8.
2-8.
And they
Yeah,
made
they
the
won
playoffs.
8. Yeah, they won like 6 straight and then qualified in.
What year was that?
2008.
Is that Rivers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jets
Seed.
were 4 and 6 in 2009.
That was the can't wait year, wasn't it? Can't wait.
Yeah. Chargers were 2013, 5 and 7. Chiefs 2015 were 1 and 5. 2016 Green Bay 4 and 6.
Oh,
2018
that was the run year, right? You wanted to run the, what do you say? Run something? I don't know.
2018 Colts 1 and 5. 2018 Eagles 4 and 6. And in 2020 the Commanders were 3 and 7. Now the thing is, the Commanders had a losing record at 7 and 9 and still won.
I know they still made it.
but
Hey,
it's not impossible. But the other thing I said when I talked about this on War Room this week was the fact that if you go back to those teams, most of them didn't have a rookie quarterback. And I didn't think I actually admitted and said, and they didn't have Matt Canada.
well,
but with that, that's going to wrap up this week's Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky D. Marky D, can we win this game?
We sure can. Go Steelers, because you know what? There's still a chance, Matty. There's still a chance. Go Steelers.